Hey traders, TG Watkins here, and I wanted to kind of just, actually show you something that's interesting looking at how some names are doing their own thing and some names are actually kind of following the market, but they're going to take their own spin on what's going on with the market. So for example, I have the S&P on the left, these are both the daily charts, and then I have Apple on the right, and I'll be changing the one on the right. But something to note that if I line my cursor up like this, you can see, yet yes, they were both, the Apple was following the market and they both had a peak right there. But you can see that maybe Apple was actually a little bit stronger because this pretty much came up there and did a double top, whereas the S&P was already much lower. And then we could see even beyond that, that as price has been going down from that peak, they've both been going down, following the market. Apple's following the market pretty well, pretty smoothly as far as that goes. Then we maybe look at Amazon, and you can see that same thing. We can find that same similar peak right in through here with both of them. But as we know, Amazon was already breaking down quite a bit. But then this last subsequent move, very similar to what the S&P has done. So then maybe we come over and let's just look at some other names. Here's Cons, and if we come and try and find that peak, you'll see, well, there was a little bit of a rise, but not anything like Apple or Amazon. This name is definitely much weaker, doing its own thing, and you can see that that peak was, yes, it was a little bit of a move up, and so you could see just how much of a difference there was between the S&P's move up and Cons move up. We can even see if we go back over to this spot, it's like what was happening here. It was very interesting to see that Cons was almost going nowhere while the market itself was really selling off. So there are names that kind of break apart and they do their own thing in a market like this where yeah, the trend's down, but it's basically tough out there, that you need to be aware that some names will just do their own thing, and they might kind of like look similar to the market but ultimately doing their own thing. And you can see here that it's still making new lows even though the S&P has tried to double bottom in through this area. And then NTR is one of the fertilizer companies, and we know what's going on with that. It almost doesn't even matter what the market is doing because this is such a unique situation with the Russia-Ukraine situation and supply chain shortages and all that kind of stuff. So this name has basically been doing its own thing regardless of whatever the market's doing. So that's another way to be looking at some activity. And then CLAC, just another one kind of in the semiconductor space. Again, we could find that peak, and you can see here that it went up with the market and kind of did something similar. But now look what's happening. It's actually stopped going down right in through here, even though the market has made much lower lows. That's something to consider. Maybe it has relative strength. The fact that it held up better than the market did means that if the market goes up, then maybe this thing can go up. Now, I will say that's not always a guarantee. We saw that CONN basically held up while the market was going down, but then it sold off. So this is something that maybe it works for a little bit of time, but may not work so far in the future because something like CLAC may actually be in process of going down. It's just that maybe there's a pretty substantial layer here and maybe it goes up a little bit, but then it could roll over again even if the market continues to move up. So again, the point is that we could be seeing a lot of stocks just doing their own thing. How about Crocs? We just kind of go over here and you can see if we want to try and find that peak again. And sure, Crocs did go up when the market went up, but you know what? Essentially, it was really just a flag. So a little bit of a bounce, mostly a flag, continue down, and it has definitely been doing its own thing compared to what the market has been doing. In fact, it started going down right here when the market was still kind of going up. And then let's take one more DKS, and you can see it's just been really sloppy and messy. Let's see if we can find that peak. Really not much. Mostly just sideways up like that. Turned out to be right into that trend line. Also an inverse trampoline move, and then it started to roll over and just kept going down. So thought that was interesting. If you guys ever want to compare the individual ticker activity to what the market's doing, see if there are any correlations, if there are not correlations, and how to trade with that going forward. All right, guys. Thanks again, and I'll see you at the next one.